I really love my garden studio. There are all sorts of things to paint and draw. And once you look around, you can see birds' nests and all that. That was another video that I did last week, and it was a bird's nest. Today, what I want to show you, I'm not going to paint this. I might later, but I want to show you how to do this ellipse in perspective. So we're going to start with, this is a fern in a pot, and I just found it in the garden. So what we're concentrating on is more of a drawing, quite a quick drawing, little exercise. First of all, you know that things get smaller the further they are away from you. The same object is big in front of you, close to you, and that same object becomes very tiny at the back. Now, you might or may not see that perspective when you're looking at an ellipse like that. Okay? So I'm going to do a quick demo on how to not do this kind of ellipse. This is an oval, really. An ellipse is one that goes away in perspective. So technically speaking, this half over here is further away from you than this one. So how do you actually plot that? Okay, the first thing you want to do, I've just got a board. I'm using a soft charcoal pencil. I love these pencils. They've got a plastic surface covering. You should actually sharpen it with a blade, not with a sharpening device. It breaks this up. So what I've done is I've found the center of my page, and I'm going to start with a square. And that might sound strange, but we are going to start with a square as if the ellipse is sitting in a square. So I've got a piece of line that's over there, drawing it very lightly. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and find the center of things. So all I'm doing is holding my pencil there. Oh, another thing is I'm not using a ruler. I'm going to try to do it freehand because it looks, most of the time, it looks a bit more natural. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by creating a square in perspective. So you know what perspective is, and if you're not sure, you've got a vanishing point, happens to be there. Sometimes it's off the page. It doesn't have to be on the page. The vanishing point could be up off the page. So I've got a line there and a line there. I'm going to darken that line for you so you see it a little bit more clearly. Okay, we're back again. Sorry for that interruption. I should put my phone on silent. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this line here can be virtually anywhere, okay? And to find where this line meets, you're going to draw through the center mark, you're going to draw a diagonal line. So it's roughly there, okay? So there, it's roughly in that space there. Now we've joined there, we've hit this diagonal line. I'm drawing through the center mark. I go to the opposite side and I draw through the center mark. These lines should be straightish, but freehand I think is better than ruler line. So I'm going to now just put these lines in a little bit denser so that it's more visible. Where you've hit this diagonal here, and this diagonal here, where you've hit it from that mark through the center mark all the way to the end. Now we can draw the mark that goes across here. That's going to be darkened, and now you can start seeing it forming. Okay, so it's creating a feel of a railway track or some kind, or a box, the top of a box, and it's going away from you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try and plot this pot plant in perspective. So it's going to look something like that. We're doing the ellipse. There's another ellipse, and there's another ellipse at the bottom. So we're going to be doing this one, and it might turn into a painting. So I'm just going to put that aside, and we're going to plot how to make an ellipse work in the square. Okay, so what you can do, actually have a look at this. That's how small this part is. Here's my finger on the charcoal pencil, and that's how big the front is. So it's a vast difference. And there's my axis there through this point. Okay, sometimes it's difficult to get, but I'm sure if you're just following as we go, it'll make sense. So here's a very quick recap of what we've done. That is an ellipse. Actually, it's an oval that does not have perspective. And when I take it away, you'll see what I mean. So it's looking as if that is in perspective. This has got no perspective. So we're going to create, and a little bit hit and miss, but let's try it. Your ellipse is going to touch this tangent at a tangent, and it's going to touch there at a tangent, and it's going to touch the center line at a tangent, and it's going to touch there. Now you can actually create even more lines across here, and there's a way of doing that, but I want to try and keep it simple. So I'm going to assume that the line is going to curve in this fashion here, like that, and then it's going to curve as a tangent, so it's meeting that line there, and it starts curving, and it's going to hit this mark at a tangent again. So that's what it's going to kind of look like, so that it's smooth. It runs into there, and then it opens up, and it's going to want to go into this tangent here. So if you're not too sure, just plot it in very softly, and you get an idea of where this line is going. Okay, you can double check, try and get your measurements right. I've got my finger there, and I've got my finger there. So what I've done is I've stepped away from the drawing and half closed my eyes, and I can see that there's a little bit of a measurement problem here. So what should happen is this and this symmetrical side there is totally different to there, but this is the same, it's symmetrical to that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is continue to almost repeat this pattern for the edge of my pot. Let's see what it does. I'm going to shade this in, okay, and I'm going to drop it down the bottom here, and I'm going to put another symmetry in here. In fact, the truth is this is bigger than that. Okay, but let's just continue with this, give it a bit of shading, and I'm going to rub it in to see what this pot is going to look like. The pot plant itself, so that's the lip of the pot plant, and we're nearly at the end. I'm just going to give you an idea of what this could become. Now there is another ellipse down here which we would plot in exactly the same way. So we plot that in exactly the same way. Yeah? Okay, let's do a little bit of shading here, and I'm going to rub that in, and you see what happens. It starts looking like a pot. The last part of the video is to do step 1. Get your perspective lines in. Get your perspective lines in as if it was disappearing, as if they were disappearing onto a vanishing point. Step 2 is to find your middle mark. So we're going to create another type of ellipse, go through the center, and through the center with these diagonal marks. So in step 3 is to find where those marks meet the perspective lines. Okay, so we have a pot that's going to look similar to this. Okay, so there's step 4 is finding these points. Step 5 is to find the tangent. You can see there's the center. Find the tangent on the side, there, like that. Yeah. And then step 6 being the last one, this is just a recap, completely different to my original one. Step 6 is to go and find these curves. Now I'm doing it on a piece of paper and I'll show you why. Find these curves. And I'm using the charcoal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this curve in. This is a difficult curve. But I'm going to show you what I do with a piece of paper, and then you can retrace it onto your painting. What I do is I fold the paper, if it's charcoal, and I rub this down with my fingernail, and I can find it, rub it down again, and then I find the symmetrical mark. So that's pretty much it. To try and get this symmetry. This symmetry here. This is not symmetrical. Okay, so just a look at the difference between no perspective and perspective. Yeah, so it's turned out okay, and could turn it into a painting. There's my pot.